there's a lot to discuss from the burgundy and gold scrimmage, but probably too much already has been made on the Terry stuff. We'll get to that. Tell me about the end of practice with, a little bit of Bobby, a little bit of Noah. Just kind of get everybody up to speed on that scene.
Noah Igbenogany. You had Mikey Sainristil, who was one of the guys who I think was bringing the most juice in this scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys talked about it early in practice.
Yeah.
He gave a little thud to Luke McCaffrey, maybe a little more than a thud. Close as the practice was winding down, Noah I was running down the sideline with a running back who was kind of starting to make his way out of bounds. Noah gave him a little extra shove, and Mikey came rolling through with kind of swag, kind of talking trash to Noah. It looked a little bit, kind of just two guys talking ish to each other. Noah turned around and gave Mikey a little bit of a shove. That got Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu out onto the field, kind of walking back to the huddle with Noah. And it kind of just looked like two vets being like, "Hey, dude, let's, we're both on the same team. Like, let's, make it happen." And then, Noah got upset at something that was said and kind of turned and had to be held back a little bit. It certainly wasn't a dust-up or a skirmish in any way, shape, or form, but DQ did have to step in and, talk to Noah a little bit. And my favorite part of the whole thing was, I believe, do we know, was Brian Johnson calling plays for the White offense?
Tavito on one side, Brian Johnson on the other.
The very next play, after all this went down, they called a double move to Braylon Sanders down the field against in single coverage against Noah I. Noah made a good play on it, and just some fun chirping back to the huddle.
Was Noah and Bobby on the same side?
No, Bobby. So
see that? I don't hear what you got to say then. You're on the other side. Don't come talk to me. We split up today. I don't want to hear that crap. I don't care how old you are.
I can't imagine Noah said just that.
Step your ass back. I don't want to hear that from you. Your guy hit my guy earlier. What the hell? You didn't say nothing then. Don't say nothing now.
I think you like seeing those juices get up, and I think that's exactly what DQ and everybody wanted today was to see that thing go a little bit. I was just saying, we went through the joint practices in New England, preseason game. We'll do the joint practices with the Ravens, and I was like, is it really going to be the burgundy and gold when we see a real skirmish, a real skirmish break out on the field? And luckily, cooler heads prevailed, and the guys chilled out.
I understand it, but that is defensive players to the max. Your guy on your side, when we split the team, we all in the team together. When your guy hit Luke, nobody said a word. But when my guy bumps you a little bit extra out of bounds, you got something to say now. Dog, come on, man. Defensive player got them damn one-track minds, man.
We talked to Bobby Wagner after practice about it a little bit, and he said, I asked him kind of about that, and he was like, we've had a couple of these scrimmages. He's like, earlier on in my career, that might have been an actual skirmish, and we maybe would have had to end practice early. He's like, but we've matured a little bit, and we're moving on.
Well, if I was a coach, we were in the end practice early. Somebody get into a fight, you in practice early, guess what's going to happen the next day? A fight. So if I'm a coach and you get into a fight, I'm going to let you finish. Then I want you to practice. I'm tired as hell.
And then I want you to go run wind sprints after practice.
No, you need to run wind sprint. I'm about to make you run, and I'm going to run 2 minutes against you if you're a defensive player. Keep you on the field.
You ever get in a skirmish?
I got in fights all the time.
I mean, is that the easiest question of all time?
I got in fights all the time, but you know what, though? I didn't care about keep practicing. I wasn't trying to get rid of practice.
That's because you're crazy.
I mean, nah, bro. It's like, come on, bro.
No, after 2 days of short work, both Sunday and Monday with what they're doing, it's good to see them get a
little energy. Because their energy was missing on Friday.
Today was like the payoff. Yesterday I was like, all right, man, this jog through is really, really light. But you
call it what it was, Jay. It was a walkthrough.
Sure. It was really, really light, and it was about 35 minutes. But you got the payoff today. It seemed like both sides bought in, and kind of to your point about a little bit of barking. I mean, I think the tone was really set on what was the second or third play from scrimmage when Mikey popped Luke like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, even before that, they came out in the different colored jerseys. They warmed up on different sides of the field. I mean, they tried to make it feel like it was two different teams that were.
And animosity starts to come up now.
Yeah.
It's. I went back to my room many times training camp. Boy, I sure wish I can go against so-and-so. And the next day, Coach Gilbert gets something, and I'm like, I get a chance to get him.
Well, I loved you saw Cliff Kingsbury, you saw Tavita Pritchard calling the offense for the Burgundy squad, and he was just going for it on fourth down over and over and over again. And
Who called the hook and ladder?
Yeah, dude, that was wild.
That was the white team. That was Brian Johnson, or the gold team. I guess that was Brian Johnson.
I like that.
Brian got creative
the
with
option at the goal line.
Yeah.
I also wonder if the other team has Jaden and we got Hartman. We're gonna get a little creative. We're gonna call some stuff, try to generate some offense here.
Right at the end of what was the second quarter, Jaden's team had the ball and they were trying to run one of those big hook and ladder plays all over the field. Got blown up pretty early, but this is the time to play around with that stuff. Try it out.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Talking with our boy Mitch Tischler here on the Rude Guest Hotline. You can follow Mitch at Mitch_Tischler, Tischler. As much as like the play on the field should have been the biggest story, I think was Terry showing up and talking to Adam Peters. What if any reaction do you have to that?
Honestly, not a whole lot of reaction. I think today being the first day, really, that fans weren't here since Terry started holding in, I think is probably why he was out at practice, because I don't think that he's a distraction in the building at all. We've talked to enough of these players. They know the business of it. But if Terry walked out here and watched practice with all the fans here, and you think about what social media is today, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. So I think I would think or hope that we see him kind of watching practice from the sidelines, as we start going forward. What it means for what's happening with him and AP and, getting a deal done and all that, it doesn't really change a whole lot for me. I mean, we're starting to get close to a point where, deadline spurn deals and whether it's roster cutdown day or, whatever the deadline ends up being, not much is changing in my mind. I'm still, I still don't feel good in my belly about it. Still feel a little nervous that things are going to work out well. And I think ultimately, we're at a place where there's as many bad end scenarios as there are good end scenarios. And to me, that's not a great place to be sitting.
You think there's as many what is a bad scenario to you? That he ends up somewhere else?
I don't. Not just that he goes somewhere else. That I think that's the worst scenario. If he's unhappy, with whatever deal ends up, or no deal at all, is the ankle injury? Does that continue on into the season? Does he miss a couple games for it? Does he get re-injured if he has a couple good? I don't think that any of these things speak to the man that we've gotten to know Terry McLaurin to be. Mm-hmm. However, start messing with someone's money and you start getting frustrated. All bets are off the table, I would say.
Yeah, but I think Terry's been a guy who basically has overcome so much.
Absolutely.
If things didn't work out and he had to play under the contract, I don't think he's half-stepping. I think he's trying to prove a point and try to prove you wrong. Like Urban Meyer, whoever told him he had to, you're not good enough. You need to go get better. He went and got better. Right. I believe if they didn't give him the money, he would go out there and put something on tape to where somebody else would be willing to give him money.
Or trade for him. And then,
But I think you look at what happened in L.A. with the Chargers and Rashawn Slater. He signed a 4-year extension and 3 days later tore his patellar tendon and is out for the season. If he doesn't sign that extension and tears his patellar tendon, next year when he comes back, I don't know if he's getting quite as much money because he's going to be damaged goods. And I know that Terry has been healthy and has played.
But stuff happens like that.
But that's why I understand Terry wanting to get that deal before he puts his body on the line, because if he comes out here, even if they force him to play on his 1-year deal, if he comes out here and, God forbid, gets injured, tears an Achilles or ACL or whatever ends up happening, which could happen any time, his contract that he gets after that will be lesser.
But if you go out there and you half-step and don't do much, you still don't get a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things where you just got to go and count your blessings.
Absolutely. And Terry's shown that he's a guy.
That's who he is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a put his head down and work his tail off. And I hate that because he's not this diva receiver and loudmouth guy that
normally those guys get paid.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
The guys that are quiet get screwed.
That's the case.
Sometimes the quiet dude got to just be an ass for a moment.
I hate that for Terry because he's done everything he's supposed to do on the field from the moment he got here with whoever was throwing him the football.
But when he's fighting for his family, he got to fight for his family. He can't worry about what a fan may say, a media person may say, or whatever else. You fight for your family's future. You fight for it.
But I also, and maybe there's fewer and fewer people with me, but I still think getting the deal and being a part of this team, I still think that Venn diagram is very large. This gets done.
I agree with that.
Everything's cool. Like, as much as it is August 12th and they have a preseason game in 5 days, preseason game number 2, like, I do think it can continue to work out just fine. I kind of think seeing him out there today is emblematic of, like, everybody in the building is good.
I agree. It does seem, when you talk to the players about it, when you talk to the coaches about it, you know, these guys, when we talked to Bobby Wagner earlier in training camp, and he talked about the business of football, and he's a guy that's negotiating his own deals.
Mind your
now.
business.
Exactly. And they all understand that. You know,
Yes.
You're not watching everyone else's pockets. You're not trying to, you're not trying to do that. However, there is going to get to a point where they're starting to prep for a season, where they're starting to game plan. And, you know, as much as Terry and Jaden have worked together a lot over the past, 12 months or so, like, you gotta get him on the field, and he can work out in the weight room, and he can sit in meetings and do all those things. But we talk about it all the time. I mean, you know it as well as anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Getting on a football field and playing is different than running around in shorts and a t-shirt. So you're getting close to a point where you need to be concerned about all this.
And I think both sides need to be concerned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I know people like to say that the team don't need it. Both sides need to be concerned.
If they've
'Cause
watched
they've
Red
been
Zone-
looking, they need to be concerned.
Well, the practice today, I mean, Jaden and the first team offense were largely out there and got nothing. I mean, the final score was 14-0. They couldn't really generate first downs. Like, it was, you don't want to take too much from practice or a preseason performance or whatever, but like the collective body of first team offensive work, when we were in New England and they were on the separate side fields, the offense looked really good. But outside of that, in true 11-on-11 and especially in red zone stuff, the first team offense has not looked that good. Now, are we getting every version of Jaden? I'm not sure, because he's not going to. He did run one today,
Yeah.
but
If he don't run, when he runs, momentum comes to this side.
There's also the domino effect of Terry not practicing and Noah Brown also being hurt, in that you have to have Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane working outside so that you can have, more reasonable receivers, for Jaden to work with. Ultimately, I think we're going to see much more of both of those guys in the slot, with Debo mostly on the outside and Terry, mostly on the outside, or Noah Brown, whichever the breakdown is. And particularly for Jalen Lane, I want to see him get as many reps in the role that he's going to be working on come season time at this point. You don't want to see it, not that none of those reps are wasted reps. I just want to see him getting those slot reps, because that's, I think, ultimately where we're going to see
Yeah,
the
when
most
they end
of
up
them.
being that most of the time, yeah.
Big man, what did you think of Connor Lee today and kind of in general?
I think Connerly was a guy that showed up really well. I think he showed up really well when the lights shone bright in New England, and even in the practice, in the joint practice. He gets really good work here at camp, and Von Miller still has that speed and that quickness. And there was one rep early in practice where Von just got low and got around the edge, and you saw Connerly kind of kicking out and thinking that he was going to be able to get a hand on him, and all of a sudden Von was just gone. And that's something that Von Miller does to
Everybody.
Everybody, exactly. But then you also have a guy like Dietrich Weiss, who's a big, strong dude. And what I like about what these vets are doing is they're giving Connerly the business. On these plays, they're playing through the echo of the whistle, and you're getting Wise, who's getting up in the pads of Connerly and giving him kind of bull rushes and stuff along those lines. So you're getting kind of the test from two different guys with both strength and speed. And while today, maybe in a vacuum wasn't the best day, I think we've seen incrementally better play as training camp has gone on, and I'm actually starting to get closer to a point where I think we might see Connerly just flat out be your starting right tackle come week one.
Because, he's going to have to get his sometimes he's going to lose some battles. And just like last year when we put, what's called about that left tackle, Coleman.
Brandon Coleman.
He lost some, but he won a lot of them. He won probably more than he did lose. But Connerly is that guy fit for that outside. And I know a lot of people, oh, man, he got beat. You must have never played anything in your life, because somebody's going to get beat once or twice. But if they keep winning more than they lose, I'm willing to work with that.
And I know folks love to think, O-linemen just throw their heads into other players and, there's not a lot of thinking involved. But one thing that I've really liked from Connerly is you see him working through the process of who he's supposed to block and working off double teams and reading, tackle end, twists and stuff like that. And, the speed and the strength is all very important, but so are the mentals.
And those guys that Vaughn, Wise, they talk to him about what he did, what can help him. And I think that's the whole thing. It's not just the offensive lineman helping him. Those defensive guys can tell him, this is why I was able to do what I did. If you were to do this, you could be in a better position. And he takes that stuff and he works with it.
And by the way, Laramie Tunsil's over there too,
Yeah.
who has a little bit of knowledge that he might be able to pass along.
A little bit.
For sure. With the backs, with the run game, we didn't see Bill Merritt today, just kind of taking care of the shoulder after he got popped Friday. I think a little too much has been made of like B-Rob's demise. I think Robinson's pretty clearly still their RB1, but it's going to be a straight up committee. I thought Chris Rodriguez played all right today, and you don't want to take too much from any one thing, but like I'm curious what you think. We saw the second half of the season, their inability to run the ball. That was a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Today didn't look like they ran the ball that well either.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't run the ball that great today. We've certainly seen that be a struggle for this team. I think when you talk about Bill Merritt, I think he will be able to help here and there. This season, I think he'll be able to help here and there in the run game. But I think we have to see him improve his pass pro a lot. And I think that's kind of, one of those places where your, alternate running back, if you will, needs to be good at doing that. We saw, going back to Alex Smith and plenty of other quarterbacks along the way, what happens when you don't have a running back block. I also think fans are way too down, like you said, on Brian Robinson. I think outside of the top 5 running backs in the NFL, I think that, there's not a lot of disparity between the next, group of 15 guys or so. And he's a solid NFL running back. I'm not saying that he's going to go do Saquon Barkley things out there, but he's going to get you yards when you need to get them. And, so I think that ultimately, as much as Bill Merritt has been making an impression here, I don't know that there's a big path to him having a huge impact on this season.
I think if it was Bill or whoever, we saw a stretch last year, nobody was getting yards. It wasn't just Brian. Nobody got a yard, but people just jumped on Brian for some reason. The offensive line has to be healthier and more. If they're healthier, they're more stable. I think you get more yards out of the whole running back.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
My one question in the back, that I'm starting to have is, what do we think happens with Jeremy McNichols? Because he was playing into the second half, fourth quarter of that preseason game, and we know that he is a son of a gun in pass pro. You just go back to the Terry touchdown on the last play in Cincinnati and watch the block that he laid on that linebacker. However, if you're going to keep Bill Merritt and he's kind of your half scat back, half power running back type guy.
Merritt?
What?
Merritt you talking about?
Merritt is, you have B-Rob and you have Eckler. B-Rob's your, between the tackles guy. Eckler's your more in the pass game guy. And then you have, last year, McNichols played that kind of half and half role, running between the tackles and also being able to make catches. If Merritt's on the roster, do you keep 4 running backs? I think, we got to start kind of talking about roster cutdown day and where this thing ends up at.
I think it's all changed so much with the way the practice squads are now, and DQ even talked about, there's a 53, but there's also a 70, and I think you can keep, unless Ja'Cory Brooks continues on, some real breakout scale, I think you stand to lose one of those backs more if you try to get them back to the practice squad.
Totally agree.
Felton, they keep using him a lot, and he can streak.
Yeah.
Kick returner.
Streak.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Did you notice Revo out there a bunch today?
They were running a bunch of some three safety stuff out there. The fact of the matter is, I think you can see by what we saw in the game in New England and the practice, the tryout guys, and then signing linebackers that, they don't love their linebacking depth right now. And I think part of that, Jordan McGee's injury. Kane Madrano's young and still learning. You have
they just cut Hampton.
Right, they just cut Hampton. It's hard to keep Revo off the field because every time he's on the field, he makes plays. And even today, he had a big thud on a run stop, and got up and was flexing on the guys. And,
that's Revo.
That's Revo though, but he brings it. You want those guys who bring that energy. And you talked about in New England there not being a ton of energy.
Oh,
Revo's one of those guys.
Oh, he had
I know,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Revo's one of those guys that amps things up for everybody.
And he does it all the time. Like he said, he was talking to Tanner and Fred on his way out this morning. He said, I only know one speed, big bro. And that's how he goes with it. So I love that.
We got a boogie, Mitch. Thank you, buddy.